나는 다시 대지 먼저 시시비게다 군로 최년 비가서 군로다 다지 군로체 되네 안도시네 쉬제 다다데 최시비게 가서다 군로 가르치고래 세 최된 법어디기 군로 가르치고래 세 디고마 쉬어와.
So good afternoon. So we're going to continue in the text looking at the a proper attitude and behavior with which to explain the Dharma, particularly the attitude or motivation. So in the handed out text, it's page 31. In the printed book, it's page 27.
마 삼로를 가르치고 삼바다 조와세디 아니 가르당고레세디 삼바다 숨발라 니체 삼바다 조와세디 삼바세디 군원 삼당도스데 삼당하데제 된 조와세디 제 최시비가서 조와 제대로와 남부 달로레게 주기 슈발레스 숭비 두셴아샤데스 는让来面巴当去来面当去年巴来年巴当地心下巴来给我当巴去出了人的那边给都些结巴快来讲吧公先头了这边差多继续这边联络样切巴这边外边叫啊叫啊的呢大你做先捐两瓦当去来必须结巴세계로 소배 산신라 따와 빵대 내랑 현지 상계 투비 치도 덴비기 쇠남디니 안다게 대위 유제도 냠도 삼보세.
When explaining the Dhamma, then there's the two parts, that of the attitude or motivation, and thereafter the behavior of what one does when teaching. So looking first at the attitude, the questions of Tsongkhapa Sutra puts forward 5 perceptions. Firstly, generating the perception of oneself as a doctor, of the Dharma as the medicine. Thirdly, of the one listening to the Dharma as a patient, of the Tathagata as a holy being, and fifth, of the wish that the Dharma remain for a long time. It also promotes the cultivation of loving kindness towards those around one. Furthermore, the jealousy born from anxiety over others becoming superior, the laziness of putting things off, the discouragement of fatigue from explaining things over and over, the praising of oneself and speaking of others' faults, the reluctance to not lend Dharma texts, and the concern for material things such as food and clothing should be abandoned, thinking, the very merits from teaching for the sake of my own and others' enlightenment are the assurance of my happiness.
안다 취시비가서 취시엔디게 삼로딘 당고레서 로다르게 취시비 두셴아세데 그생한주데 취년비가서 두시 죽된고레서데 도러시도 제랑라 멤버 시데 취시엔디레야 소소라는 게 당한 멤버 나시지 시데 멤버 다오스 멤버 나시 삼고레시데 나 멤버 나시시데 가서 거랑라 멤버 시데 두시샤고르데 당아 콘주유지 녀모바다 강하지 세기 탑름 된행디다 니 등고레스 다디 된행데 가레 SMB게다 두시하고레스랑라 멤버세다 nenchele me sidu dandi ngi jige ya na sanyi sunma nji sunse bege lamji nyamle rimba temba di da konzo di nyamso lemba ina konzo delatina dunga le tugure digi tugure sambege dushene da chele me sade dushene samdangure saji.
Here we see in the questions of Tsongkhapa Sutra, there are 5 perceptions. So these, you'll see, are similar to the 6 we had before, with just the 4th one being omitted. So the first is generating the perception as oneself as the doctor, because now this is in the context of one propounding or teaching the Dharma. So one sees oneself as the doctor in the sense that it is my responsibility to guide those teaching to come to recognize the cause of their suffering, which is namely the faulty or mistaken ways of thinking. And secondly, that the Dharma as medicine, that I need, in teaching others, I need to guide them not only to recognize the causes of their suffering, but the antidotes, how they can successfully gain freedom from suffering.
Döstös kangalle seture mato tingi ne kanga di meba setuya marwa ngazuge dösha sheda nyomo badige ne meba setuya jo marwa jizada nedi de nedi ngazu nyomo dusum diche de ma sewa chebala ane garche oresene konzolya anji lamdenje tablam de anji ngote je nyomo badidi de dösha konranga je nyomo badisu de dunga yongore jizan di ma meba sebe tablam andi gomgore nyebo diten gore sebegida ngazuge jamni je tembada anje dame bala sobada ane surumsoye nyamnen pa dustenje ndorna parchin tu chimbada chure zoba zune samne sherabni nyamnen di ma tenje andi stembane dinege nyamnen rimbadida mena hera di nyamso lembaina andunga le tuyo baza ji chela men sa di ro ji chela men da bus.
Understanding how all beings want to experience happiness and don't want to experience a moment of suffering, wanting now to alleviate their suffering by providing material generosity, whilst often required and needed, this benefit of offering food or even medicine will only provide temporary benefit from suffering. It won't have any impact on attachment and anger. So what one needs to focus on when giving teachings is through the clear understanding that Dharma is the medicine, that one's role here as the doctor is to illuminate the path for one's students, explain to them, guide them to come to recognize suffering in all its various expressions and the causes of suffering, namely the afflictions. Moreover, guide beings to come to recognize that there is a solution. One can gain freedom from our afflictions. Lasting, stable peace of mind is attainable. And thereafter, one needs to guide beings into how to cultivate these antidotes, cultivate wholesome minds, in particular ethical restraint, as well as those such as love and compassion, and as well as generosity, patience, wisdom, concentration, and so forth. This is the medicine that you as a doctor are required to dispense.
Da dinegi chenyam bala nebas nebe dushi sede da nyonzo de nyele chenyen hangi ane sosora nebe dushi se shadu ma leda nyomo dusum yingala narde yores chizandi tinde samdaidi da nyonzo chenyam babo khorongone samdairo da nyonzo da che tembo digi che nyenge de loma digi la da ko neba dushi reside ko le nyomo ba panya da ko leda nyomo bu angi nyomo ba de yede res ko gula tadi nyomo ba dikida ko ane mo ba na dunga yudi nyomo ba jigore chizan ko gula da nyomo ba yores ne de che chizan tadi ko gula ne de ne nyomo ba de meba so ko gore sam dai ro da nyomo ne nyomo ba di ta konju nyomo ba de meba so ko gore se.
This presentation is similar to what was presented earlier, just from the different perspective. Earlier we heard from the perspective of the student to come to recognize that one is ill, and the illness is that one's mind is afflicted by the three poisons of ignorance, anger, and attachment. Now, from the perspective of the Dharma teacher will have received many teachings, come to recognize the role the afflictions and the three poisons play in their own mind, in their own inner torment. And the teacher will also have gained skill in developing the antidotes. And now, based on this knowledge and experience, they will be guiding their students to also come to recognize the three poisons as being the source of our suffering, as well as how to cultivate the required antidotes.
어디네 자다가 주기만 semje chue nyenge dat semje dike dan kudu nyomo be wangi an dungan kewa da de nga zo dungan nyoa da kewa ngamagi nyomo bo wangi le sa le ke wangi kowa kewa le dungan ngore da de ne kongzu gi dungan dike pa ma se ba nyomo ba de me ba ma se ba nyomo ba di wangi de ne gi le sa ma ba na dungan nyoa kanga chege de ne je za sa de tu sin ne ba da bi tu she sam da yu 대리야 되니게 녀모 맨날 요래서 배 삼다지 닝제 삼백에 닝제 삼 닝제게 되러와다 닝제 삼 되네다 대자다 건주기 녀모 버세데 탑람 간에 세고래 간에 매바 스위투그레스 멜마서 네디 매바 자투게 맨디 간에 세세데 간에 매바 사투그레 매바 스위투그레라도 다 냠는 제제 이중곰야다 안지게 아주 타바침배 삼다바나 잠니죠곰 잔주 셈곰 되네 그것도 파진주게 냠는 제네 냠는 제발에 되네 녀도 숨에 세고 그래서 되네 자데 코위게 코월을 되게 예 코월을卷토야다 코월을特别 탈되게는 예전 삼바다 되네 진발라서 받다 되네게 냠는 다 건주게 내디 녀모 두숨세 탑람 디라레샤 스베다 디 이체도 다 될래야 두스전 삼다디 메노 삼다디 다 제자다디 닝인 콘솔레다 탑람데 니 시고도 콘솔망이 띵긴 다 콘솔게 마시에제 콘솔게 동아세다 냠는 제주제 안 동아세 센네 탈베기도 고판 띵기 대화 토토와제 띵이 동아디 자오기니 메바스 세투가 지이 니 시긴 세베섬도 다 덤바보 메바나지 멘비기 멘제지네세아나지 니 파운 콘솔리아 땡제 안 콘솔 냠는 제주 콘솔 dungadili setuba jigin sembegida samdanaadi da memba dawo da chele men dawo ane jigi chenyam bala neba dawo se samdanaadi na di siagorwa.
Here too we see the interdependence of the relationship between teachers and students in that the one now propounding the teachings, they themselves will have spent extensive time in the role of the student, hearing and relating to the Dharma as a mirror to their own mind, coming to understand the role the afflictions have played and continue to play in their life, and then cultivating the various antidotes. So based on the experience of the Dharma in relation to their own mind, now when it's come to them to have the opportunity to share the Dharma with others, they reflect on the situation of others, of those who either are at teachings, will come to teachings, reflect how they have been also tormented by their afflictions, lifetime after lifetime. And through the affliction, so much non-virtuous karma has been accumulated, which leads them to continue to suffer in previous lives, in this life, and with a store of non-virtue that will lead to ongoing suffering. Thinking like this, compassion will arise within the mind of the teacher. And with the risal of compassion will come the determination, I have to help these beings. I need to guide them as best as I can to come to recognize that they are ill, to identify what their illness is, what the causes of their illness is. And moreover, I need to guide them to the best of my ability, based on my own hearing as a student, reflecting and meditating, guide them as well as I can to cultivate the minds of definite emergence, love, compassion, and the 6 trainings of generosity, ethics, and so forth. So, motivated by compassion for suffering beings, the wish will arise powerfully within the person, within the Dharma teacher, to want to share the Dharma. Just like a skilled doctor who cares for their patients will want to diagnose and skillfully encourage their patient to follow the prescription because they know this it will heal them. So too with the Dharma teacher, playing the role of the doctor, prescribing the ideal medicine to their ill patient. This is motivated by compassion.
Janshu Sim Komba, Yelia, Simchella, Simchen, and the Simcha Tamjil Jamba, the Niji Kongorova. Chisnada Jamba, the Niji Komyodu, the Consulia, Dunga, Dunga, Union Mopekidus in the Kanga, to Simpeti Niji Kongora, Comyodu, and Nyamba Ball, Nebata was at some Data Jiba Chakdua. And that was in Jam Niji Komsan and the Karjawas. Is that and the Simja Tamjil. Simja Dunga Jahu, Simja Devada, Dengudu, Dick Hannes Dengri, Ganista Tugurelana, and those in the Simja Dunga Gudi, that led a Yomo Batilla Yundu, Chesa Digu, Digi Duela, Digi Usaju, those Chesa Dusaju, then Dungai, Sevala, Dunga Yomo, but the Nibo Danger, Gomjuche, then a consequent Dunga Jahu, Stingay to a jigging Sepi, and something Tangora, down a Ducarsana, that conjugate Mendo the Carsenda. Never say Allah and the Digi Duala, Divi Usaju to say, me consulate Divi Yamling Rimba, Jimado Trimla Sopa, Danger, Yamling Jeju is. Then Dunga you Yomo, Yambo Danger, Gom Juja, and the Dunga Joa Chichi Sedu, and Damia Batingis Urajas and he part Dingi Sedu, Chile men Davos, men some Data Jibachakas, Dima Danger, need consult Dunga Joa Chichi said. So I just didn't that he Timbala, then hating is the member that were Chagura. She's an hating Bala, and then he did that. Simjela Pandashella and Arala that you didn't get to a new Dinigi didn't to a guitar, Chodo Cuba to Suris and San Diego, San Yeresha. Then is Simjan Tamji Digi Dunga say, Dondala, San Diego, Tokudu, Sembigeta, Dinigi Janju Sim Gongorva. She said, Dino Gomedu, Deso, Nanjuki that did Donda Chiba Chekidua, Sunharo, Dios Miran, Chesa, men that would never. Simgelia, Nebata was and the Chula meant that were Membata was some Dana. She's a Simjan Tamjela, Dunga Nasha, Digi Mindu Sembe, some not Jamni Jocom, did Dunga and Digudang, me saying, said, Membata was some time. She's not gonna say this and a consulia, Digi you and Lamson Yamsule. Dunga say, Dunga you Yomo, Nimbo dear, Gom Juge, Masea Chiki, said, Decomjes. Sewa Jeju said, Dinner, chicken simple dinner sometime do, and the men double said, and Lucine Dondaro, Chibaru, Chagdo, the some Dana did so.
The person who's giving Dharma teachings, as we saw this morning, should cultivate a motivation of bodhicitta. And that would be a motivation of whatever level of love and compassion they have generated. Maybe it's actual bodhicitta, maybe they're still training to cultivate bodhicitta. But whatever level they are at as a practitioner, they will reflect on the suffering situation of all beings, recognizing that beings are tormented by their afflictions. And it's because of their afflictions on their own mind that beings are suffering and creating the causes for ever further suffering. Reflecting like that, love and compassion will arise in the meditator, wanting beings to abide in lasting happiness, freed from suffering. And whilst they're generating the motivation like that, the thought will come ever stronger. I must do something to help others. I need to help them. I need to help them recognize the causes of their suffering, and I need to help them identify what the solutions to their suffering are and guide them in how to cultivate that. This is what they require, and I have some capacity to help them. I have some capacity to help them. Here the motivation arises within one to give of oneself, to teach the Dharma. Thereafter, one will recognize, but I have to become a Buddha to help them ever more. So you generate bodhicitta, reflect on the 6 perfections. So in this way, one is cultivating the motivation in order to give teachings. And likewise, as one is teaching, or afterwards and recalling one's teaching, one will see that one is guiding beings in the same way that you yourself have been guided by your own teachers, to recognize the cause of suffering, to cultivate the solutions, guiding them in particular how to cultivate the foundation of ethical restraint, minds such as love and compassion, and as well as the wisdom realizing selflessness, which is the direct antidote to all suffering. So as just like a medical student training because they want to help alleviate the suffering of others, and just like then the actual doctor who is then consulting patients and prescribing medical treatment to suffering patients, so too does the teacher cultivate ever stronger compassion and this determination to help others in the most meaningful of ways. Going along with this is the very clear recognition of their own limitations, that they are not a Buddha. So their determination to actually become a Buddha grows ever stronger, because in the teaching environment, they are giving of themselves, but they recognize that their limitations in knowledge and experience. So therefore, the determination to perfect their knowledge, perfect their wisdom, to perfect their experience of the Dharma grows. Their determination to become a Buddha for the sake of others grows ever stronger in the teacher, so that they can give ever more to their students.
Dövare dunga mi dövare de ine da nyom dunga nyom wangi ye chigi dunga na du gor chisa nyom ba de sa gudu sembege semjel ya dunga semjen ye kanga se du ki da kanga ne de chamba dan zewa ki je ani chigi chen ya nge an tablam de nyamne rimba de manowa de manowa mathu ba cha dingi sembege de nege da che nyamne je ba de la de ne an kanga le se thugure de za nge de konsolya an jige kon주 강아세야 된 디기 두베게 된도 안 제도 아니게 최대 냠링이 림바파 안 지금 차상와 만어와 맞추바지 지금 야고지 마 건들이야 럽긴 셈베게 바 시긴 셈베게 군노 삼로를 되니 키워래서 월다 don달라 삼단다데.
Going through this meditation, the teacher develops an ever stronger determination to help their students. Through having recognized how these beings are desperate to be freed of all forms of suffering, want nothing more than to abide in a peaceful state of mind that's never punctuated by a moment of suffering. Yet, because of their strong habituation to the afflictions, they continue to create suffering. Compassion arising within the teacher, the determination grows ever stronger. I will guide them. I will guide them in how to cultivate the unmistaken paths. I will, in an unmistaken manner, illuminate the paths for them. This is then how the teacher develops a pure motivation.
나데네 디신 셰바라 기부 담바 세데 데시 쇼게 셰바다 지바라 가상 쇼바다 디신 기부 담바 세데 데데 디신 셰바다 최 데네기 최 덴버바 상여 좀된데 데네기 따라서 샘잼 담제게 된다라야 안에 가와 제 냠는제 하는 거 맞어봐 상예네 하는 거 알아서야 두제 왕기 다지게 코발을 주위게 탑람 안 산조고바 탈바다 탐제kimbe 고바도베 탑람 냠냠랭기 림바도 스템바디 단 덴제기 템바레 삼제 안도시네 저게 상기기 구송 투숨기 연년제 상계리아 대바기야다 한 상기 안조리아 람드 냠는 림바 덴샤바디 안조 냠는 지야 고거브라데 베 마세 야보이야 선베게다 게진 첨보시우레 세베 상기기다 게진제야데 게진지스제야데리샤다 상기기 상기 구송 투숨 연년제 상기게 안조리아 안직 최송 도시네 탈바다 탐지게 람드엠바제바 게진 첨보시우레 선베다 도시네 대바다 게진 제수 잼바 고미야디 삼다야디 차고로.
The fourth perception, which is similar to earlier, I think it was the fifth, we're seeing the Tathagata as a holy being. So the process here is similar. So the teacher develops faith and appreciation in Buddha Shakyamuni through recalling his tremendous efforts that the ordinary being went through to become a bodhisattva, and then that bodhisattva accumulating merit over 3 countless eons, so as to become a Buddha, always with at the forefront of his mind the determination to help beings just like us. And then when became a Buddha, had the opportunity to perfectly fulfill this long-held aspiration to help all beings in an unmistaken, perfect manner, and did so. And here then one can recall all the qualities of the Buddha's body, speech and mind, but in particular the qualities of his speech. And we generated deep appreciation for what he did for our sake, and for how truly fortunate we are to have met the Dharma and have the favorable circumstances to cultivate the Dharma. And in this way, one rejoices and generates deep and abiding faith.
Jizada Sanyi Chu Sumena, Dingin Yamin Jazz Rago Mare, Dingin around the Shingmena, and Shalia, Dimbi, Tabla Dadi, Shalia, Shia Rago Mare, Jinizada, me, Corsoso Yamin Jazz Ravata, Shalia, and the Pandochia Rava, and the Dushin Radia, Sanyi getting Jizading a dinner to Susu Chair, the Sassualatina, Sunam Satu, Sunam Sagordia, Sanyu Jimding, and Sunam Sadia, Sanyu Jimdi. And Tushi getting Sambegada, getting Jesu Jambada, Tushin Dang and Zugit, the Nigga, some diala, so Sugita, some Lugi, Jachun Kazi, down to together, getting Shu some diaji, Yungur, what that in some Davina. Jinada Semjel Cheshia, the Semjel Tam, Geralia, Jin Chibo, getting Chibo Shu, Diring Pa, and Semjel Church, getting 2 getting Jashaba de la Pa, getting Lel Masone, Ya Chu Tone, Pa Shie, getting Pa Savia Ravadi, that Dumbasaya Jimnadi getting in Sembegida, Dusin to getting Jambaina, and Sosulia, and Sosugi, Gehe Samlo, Dikea, Nubo Gondo Joada, and the Keva Bottom Basa, Yungovasa, and Dusine, Disheva, Givo, getting Jangore, said Disheva, Givo Tamba said, Dushe Samtana, Dustangore says to Sungorva.
Here one also recalls that it's only due to the kindness of the Buddha and all his efforts that I have been able to meet the Dharma and been able to gain so much benefit from this. Moreover, it's only because of the kindness of the Buddha thereby that I have the knowledge and experience that I do and can thereby share with others. So therefore, all that I've attained as a student and all that I'm able to give as a teacher is due to the kindness of the Buddha. So in this way, we generated an ever deeper appreciation for the kindness of the Buddha, reflecting on all the merit we have and will continue to accumulate has come about in dependence on his kindness. So this deepening appreciation leads to us rejoicing in what the bodhisattvas and the Buddha did and continue to do for beings. And this a mind of rejoicing leads to our own virtue increasing exponentially.
Bendigo within the church, the Nevachik, the Nigi, Shea, Gohapravatia, Sanyi getting Karilabna, and then Anjugi, Sanyi church, Sanyi Jimnindi, Timbalia, Rabduchung, and the church, Lobjon Rachemena, Nadele to Yomarwa, Nadele, Shanda, and the Kabi Yende, Jenda Yovachin, Yungo Marwa, Tangi, Church, Tone, Lobjon La Karansam Cheche, the Nigitone, Jiginza, and Dijene, de Letuvadi. Getting Levarwada. 제자데 nga samdawene de nga ya je za tunyare an garsi tunye ya go yare an du shin cheshe go pradi ngo so de nga juge gewe shin da lama nam je ke du shi de desma du shi je desu ba je de an sang ye jemnen di song bi che sang ye jemnen di ye an rab jung do ma ma je shi bi de ni gyu ba ndele de ne an du shi ne yong ma za da ze wi gi da cha san nga ju di denteg이 잠다베는 제사 상의 점년이 게든 지상한 쪽에 밀리는 것이 더바디야 상의 게든이 지상한 쪽 취지에 고급라와 대한 상의 게든이서 또 제대 심주 맞아서 제사 취에 냠만 가르치는 자와 상의를 두대 된바 상의 점년에 두대로 봐죠 제사 상의 점년이 게든 차도요 제사 디네 자 상의 두시는 게든 제야디 나 두시는 된 고고래 사지 손에 디소하다.
Speaking personally from for my own case, it's due to the kindness of Buddha Shakyamuni that the Dharma abides in our world. So therefore, it's due to the kindness of the Buddha that I had the opportunity to ordain in this life, and having ordained, had the opportunity to study. And if the Buddha's teachings hadn't abided in this world, I would not have had the opportunity to ordain and study, and my life would have turned out very differently. For sure, I would not be here in Australia. I would not be here with you. So this has come about due to the kindness of the Buddha. And whilst, of course, we can and should talk about the kindness of our teachers and so forth, this entire lineage of remarkable beings we trace back to Buddha Shakyamuni. The very fact that we have attained a precious human rebirth is due to the causes we created in past lives under the guidance or the influence of the kindness of the Buddha. Our ongoing spiritual development, we trace that back to the kindness of the Buddha. So reflecting like this, we come to develop a very deep and personal relationship with the Buddha and a deep appreciation for the benefit he brings into our life.
나치 유출의 링도 내비기 두시 개바 세대다 쇼에 샤바다 지바레 제사다 상예 점nen디기 능아 주게다 기보숨게 람지진 발마 자샤바이나 기보 하이 근데 개왔지만 오나 하다 미우고 봐도 왜 탑라 냠는 게 림바 아니 코베 동아 타달을 줘제 타바토베 람냠는 게 림바 아니 심전 탐적이 되는 상제고 방이 그 탐제 세바도 연대 운이 용수做呢 아니 타도 상제고 봐 토비게 탑 냠는 이름바디다 니네게 냠는 림바디 안지게 윤희도 네바쇼서 베게다 랑게 냠는 제는 셴르파데 마노 마투바데 셴예 냠는 제 디게마 셴라데 또 셴의 심전에 상기 마토 상마기 바도데 냠는 림바디 다야도 셴네 네바 용화쇼서 베게데 네게 삼다야데 데 상예 제 취기 출라린도 네베도 셰사데.
The fifth perception we also looked at this morning, the wish that the Dharma remain for a long time. So as mentioned this morning, what this means is one recalls the trainings that are shared with the practitioner of initial capacity, the trainings that are shared with the practitioner of intermediate capacity, and the trainings which are unique to practitioners of supreme capacity. Recognizing their great value, one wishes that for them to abide in the world, which means one is determined to cultivate them in one's own continuum and guide others to cultivate them too. Because it's the Dharma abiding in the minds of beings, which is the meaning of the Dharma abiding in the world.
내내 콜라 잠바콤바 시대 지사다마 안심제 랑유 최선세 대수야 콜레 심제야 안 잠바콤고선 콘줄 디기데 되나 선비기 잠바콤고레서 잠바콤에다 아니 야양 체베 나유 교와세데 다데네게 소소 양지 최네 양시 시류갑라 아니 강아테네 야지다오다 강아데 체투사마라 심베다 가 강아데 교와 중구로와 데네라 안 데네게 교와마 삼바체 데레야 안징이 무티네 직 시투바지 콜라 잠보 only 당연히 원 말을 콜라 잠보 공부하다 현토 차버디비 가서 현토르디비 차도의 방법에서 콜라 잠보공 아니 현리야 차도 막 얘기 다 이게 차도디게 바마야 방법에서 차도 세지. 현라 토어 뒤에 차도 세지. 차도 지교 말해서 그러다.
And the text continues, it also promotes the cultivation of loving kindness towards those around one. The jealousy, and furthermore, the jealousy born from anxiety over others becoming superior, the laziness of putting things off, the discouragement of fatigue from explaining things over and over. Yeah, and perhaps going to read that far.
Yes, 지나다 콜라 잠보금 세션리아 디기다 데나 셈비게 잠보금이 들어와. 아시겠어요? 아니, 아니 현토 뒤에 차도 방고래스, 현토 차와 뒤에 차도 방고래스도 다确定 라마 현 된법의 현이나 현여반에 현려다 지 건축이 된지 건축 지금 야기에 줘야 다 건축이 지금 코르디게 야고자 건축이 지确定 라마디 게라치 뭐 차사를 삼제 차도 체주로 안디네게 현确定법의 여반에 될라 차도 지교 말해서 그러다.
So this paragraph then presents what one should in terms of your attitude, what one should guard from arising. So the first is that a jealousy towards other Dharma teachers, thinking that they, well not necessarily Dharma teachers, but towards others, that they may gain a reputation that you yearn for, that they may gain fame that you yearn for. So the first point to guard yourself against is jealousy born from anxiety over others becoming superior.
현재 토와 뒤에 지금 토와 뒤에 차도 세대야 지금 내내 연구로와 베네 최시디가 지금 로마 리가 야고 안에 지금 야고를 신할 전에 어디야 지금 야고 지금 신도 어디다 그 신이 코베 캡지게 예 야고 신이제 제만가래 야가 차이 내가 열었음 되네게 차도라 제 용시마 마시바 말와 되네 자다 현라 차도 현디 야고 차사래 건조 차사를 셈지 건조 게라체 차사를 삼제 될래야 차도 지교 말해지 내내게다 현确定법의 이나라 수인의 현 야고 차교에는 될래야 지수이라지 오래서 오르다네.
It's quite obvious how jealousy can be directed towards one's fellow teachers, but so too can it be directed at one's students. If one has a particularly sharp student who's understanding well, then one may think, this person is progressing much quicker than I did. This person is actually quite likely to exceed my own skills, and jealousy may arise. So here one must guard one's mind from such an attitude, but rather rejoice in the qualities of that student.
나는 치실지비기 레로 방고래서 저게 레로서 디레요 삼바 사이나니 와서 디레요서 제마 시고선 누신의 레로진에 샤교 말에서 파지 고가래도 남사 바 기디나 셰그 베지시고래서 제산디 레로지교 말에서
Secondly, the laziness of putting things off. So this is procrastination again. And this is in all contexts to be guarded against. Rather, the opportunity should be taken to teach when the opportunity is there and not procrastinate.
지난다 데네게 제마시오선 레로체 자바이나 지상하는 저 가르요로서는 미다바라와스 차상 지난다 제마시오스도 소소라란 제마 되기 이면에 수하고 그러다 지게디 신해봐서 말와스 지난 게임 가르쳐지 하고야 말 가르쳐줘야 말 제가 디네 제마시오서 샤샤바이나 아니 뒤즈티 여바디 마시 제마시오샤디 제마시에 뒤즈디 말레 para라 나 소소 나와다 안시와다 야지 괜찮다게 온도 송와이나 아니 시야 고브라기 말레스 제가 디야라기 말와스 제가 다데네 뒤즈유디 다가랑 바 고합들 바심지 시오레세 아니 야 지금 제마시오샤도 년간디에네 다디 뒤즈 냐알레도 년될 뒤즈여되제 제마시오스 제마 혼절로 뒤즈 냐에 뒤즈라마를 하던데요 말도 konzo에 미다바래 제가 직진에 내바차에서 그래 직진에 시시그래 직진에 사모규와 레가다 가레이션에 안 뒤즈 메바차스 그래 제가 되니자 년 소소 시간다 년간 니게 삼당원에 삼당원 몽어부 뒤즈티 몽어바나 된대요 말에서 기디까지 가르쳐줘요 말에서 제가 되니자 다데네 년간다 다디 시간 소소라 고합 유디 갑라 네 그도 다라 강투두지 시호레스마도 레로지교 말해서지.
If the laziness of procrastination is arising, this shows the need for the teacher to reflect on impermanence, thinking that right now there is an opportunity. I am perhaps healthy, I have some time, and so too actually does the student. If I don't take this opportunity now to teach and to guide, things will change. They will change. And they can change in any directions. My health may deteriorate, the student's health may deteriorate. I may be called away, a student's free time may be finished and they may be busy once again. Or these favorable outer circumstances that we have, these too are impermanent. Impermanence will show itself in any number of ways. So therefore, take the opportunity now when it presents itself. Don't delay, because like that, one's opportunity as good as one has right now may well not come again.
안데네 이제선 두신 미다바 삼다 두신은 지금 치셔 맞아가지고 시작을 근데 야야 제백이 maybe 교화 용거를 대양 방고를 쓰다 소수의 야네 야도 봐지 망고시도 다 강아 지금 류리아 강아 쳐야다 샘 지금 강아 쳐야다 되네게다 어다이 강아 쳐는 다 지금 기디나 쇼도 강아 두선 비기 샘랴 안에 교화제의 샘 르슌바다 되네게 용거로 봐 되네게 슌바 용 지교 말해서 그러다.
The third, the discouragement or fatigue from explaining things over and over. So here one needs to be, guard one's mind, be mature about one's attitude, because if we focus on what is difficult, my body is tired or my mind is however it is, if we focus on what's difficult, on our problems, our mind will weaken, it will become dispirited. And in this way, we can end up just exaggerating problems and making what could have been easily dismissed as something now a greater obstacle.
공부인바 자침부인바 삼다야 안디네 다데 셰바 다데 미다바 삼다데 다딩에 디니 고비도 안지 갈려가기도 센데 체 마시바 샤샤바이나 아니 마오바나 아니 시셔가 삼바나 간에 차야 규어까지 되어 말에 딘 삼다지도 신에 안디니기 지게 샤리아 펜비게 자와로 시야데 빼 마서 야고레 셈비게 안에 가하고미야다 안지 연된다 곰 가하곰 데네 안지 가와고며도 연대나 가와고며도 안데레 디 시에기 듬바드냐기 듬바디 레용고와 데네레도 전지리고와 데네자다 데네게 삼다와 지네 최시베 판연다 라라 덴베 판연 현라 덴베 판연 아니 지기 최디 빼마차 사예예 손시베 사치보 인바 아니 다데 마셰바이나 마오바나 시에고 고갑간에 차요 말았으베 미다바 삼다다 두 삼다바이나 다 디니기 대시에게 대강아디 바 교화제에 바 고답을 두신 삼다나 교화디 용말에서 물어다.
The way to overcome fatigue and discouragement of varying types is to recall the benefits that we looked at earlier of teaching, as well as the benefits that will come for the student in hearing teachings. So what we looked at the beginning of the chapter. Because by recalling the benefits, this immediately will bring joy to one's mind, joy at the benefit that you yourself will receive, as well as joy at the benefits that the object of your care will receive. Moreover, remind yourself of impermanence, that this opportunity now, even if it's not ideal, one this good may well not come again. So thinking like this, the mind becomes lighter, in particular when recalling the benefits for yourself and for your students. The mind then becomes lighter and joyous, and then it becomes easy to continue, and continue not in the sense of persevering with a heaviness, but rather continuing in a light manner with joy. And the primary way to have this kind of outlook is to make the mind positive by reflecting on the benefits. Actually, this is very similar to one of the divisions of patience. We're dealing with patients relating to problems arising from the external. So yeah, whatever the obstacle may be, it may also be internal, just from a way of thinking. Turn your mind to the benefits, generate joy and a lightness, and this will immediately help one to look at whatever the obstacle was in a truer light, in a more accurate light, and see it for what it is, as really almost always not much of an obstacle, not much of a big deal, because seeing it in the broader perspective, in the perspective of the great benefits that will come to the students as well as the teacher, the obstacles tend to fade away. So this is also an illustration of the practice of patience.
다니 조신 신규 균량화 당스드 제자다 다니 조신 신규 균량화스드 소소랑랑게 직신교육이 연대내다 내되는 신교양 내되는 지금 되게 내시에다 약보래서다 다니 조세 소수기 연대로다 소수기 대 약보인 받아 직시에다 신기 균량화서 신이세다 그때는 다다래야마 직지야마 니디야마 디세다 지겨마 직고 다다 말해서 두시베나 아니 제 단위 조시 신유 균량화서 디지겨 말해야지. 제가 단위 소소라는 게 단위 조 신유 균량도 아니 소수게 지 약보래서도 아니 소수랭아 열리고래 신유 균량도 지금 신유 균제제도 디니고 약보 말해서 그래서 디니지겨 말해야지. 다 주시게 이제 요로와데 주시게 현다 요로와 주시게 현다로 시는 건제디 시다 지금 지금 말해서다 균례하다.
And the fourth is praising of oneself and speaking of others' faults. So here this is clear, talking up one's own good qualities and with the likely generation of pride, looking down on others, criticizing them, in particular other teachers of the Dharma. Oh, they don't know this as well as I do, they have all these faults in their personality, this way of speaking. This needs to be avoided in that it's not on the side of a motivation of love and compassion, but rather likely to be on the side of the afflictions.
다니 조신 신유 균량화세디 다 지단의 세번에 소소라라게 연대 가리는 같이 신교영의 신교 고신교민도 고야고민도 세셔야돼 지여로 받아 지 고칼라서다 지금도 거의 지기시라 지금도 균시야 지여로 봐 지단의 소소라라지 야고인배 현대 야고매 봐서 지다시어 다니 조신라 균량화세 다디 데네 요르데 이나 다디 갑딜 가르고고스는 다니 조신서 소수기 최시야데 야고인바 노트메바 야고인바데 현기시야데 지금도 네 노샤세비게 괜데 하디사 최고라 지산디네 지겨 말레스.
So this is a case of not putting down the faults, not pointing out the faults of others and going on about the faults of others. Talking about, oh, I know this very well, I'm really skilled in this area, I'm an expert in this area, and that person, no, they're pretty useless. This approach is to be avoided.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be couple of some dana shows that, yeah, Chishil Pacha or what. 다행한 저기 최시비 갈로 삼노당하의 시고로와 제자디 지단의 신유 균샤랑의 연대 죄바디 멤버제 다디가서 다니 조시 신유 균량화세야디 나랑의 시에게 최되게 약보인바다 신유 최시에된 지금도 균 노르고도서 되는 균지 루시교 말스 델고 고래제.
So this here is just really in the context of teachers of the Dharma. So one Dharma teacher talking themselves up, and another Dharma teacher putting them down.
제자다 출来必须切把是的所需的新把的也马来先了马西对个不了先拿姐姐呢就马些把就都是呢心里面多些呢都是呢下要马来现在几个马来就是刚新把的几些把的了样子现在这个马的用过来但现在这个民族说的这电动米融化的现在但马现在这个了吧那你电动融化就马送现在这个要把这个要把呢这电动融化的些所以说刚刚新把的马那工作了过好别把的那些写过了嘛到现这个电动融化以那样那个这澳大地线的工作给执行如果工作执行呢都是呢那这个怕那马些把就变下个嘛的时候了他的心啊对先来超到现在只要对需要的可是对些把呢快心中快要不差着什么这的那个还心没多到现在马些把下都是呢出来必须些把的几个嘛的就咱的那马些把这那个些的融化热的融化现在这个吧现在这个月吧呢但好像那么大一团呢你判多少钱呢上大些活的起来
And the fifth, I just changed the translation a little, the reluctance to not lend Dharma texts. But the meaning is that one does not want to give teachings that one is both qualified to give and that it is appropriate for the student to receive. So this would be an expression of miserliness, where one does not want to give one's particular text or want to give a particular teaching. But again, this is in the context of where you are qualified to give that teaching and where it is appropriate for the student to receive that teaching. And such an attitude would be may well be related to the first attitude to abandon, that of jealousy, because one may well be jealous of the attitude of one student, that they really have a deep desire to gain knowledge, or you may be jealous that you think they'll quickly surpass me in their qualities. So jealousy could well be interrelated with this miserly attitude.
Lobsang bu zong yom de de yong go la lobsang bu ha xie ya bu xing yuan na mi xian dai ge jin ma xing wai jie kuo ji xin na xing me sa jie be ka shi ne lab xia ben ko ne ya wo cha ru ge sam jie ni ga xing me se na a mo xing me de be ne ne ji jie xing go ba an de ne ya yong go la ben cong bo lo xin ne ji cong ya wo jia xian de ji cong jie ge de a ma xing wai ji 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 ben gan ne xiao le xiao o de ga xing me se na ha wo na ma xing be xia ka shi ko lab xia ben ko jie jie ne ya wo cha ru ge sam jie的那个新北呢，新美是呢，怕别去呢，俺那几个告诉了，第二是呢，公路了，这些边的快要不吃个了，三比的是差多的，的那个差多个上面的团呢，告诉呢，或者买些就别把用过了吧的。
This could be likened to salespeople discussing their successes, and then the one asking the other, "How are you so successful? What are your techniques?" And the successful person, not wanting to give a helping hand to their competitor, says, "Oh no, I've just got lucky." When really they are very skilled, but they're not wanting to share their skills. So this could be similar with a Dharma teacher being jealous of their students, recognizing that the student really has incredible imprints and is likely to surpass them. So therefore, they rather hold back their knowledge and say, no, I don't know this particular topic, or I'm not qualified to teach it, when actually they are.
他的那个出来必须结巴是，他出来必须结巴是的，他的那个嘛，所说个什么好苦的嘛，辛苦写吧的把辛苦写过来是的，他们那个写呢，这个月吧的嘛，这个月吧的内容融化那写好了嘛，但样子这个月没的内容嘛融化那，所说刚辛苦的两个辛苦多到车上写要嘛，他的 写嘛的，你们记得学来必须见面送多的，写过送多身边刚新吧，说刚新吧都要写面吧的，其他的没你写呢，只有的嘛的，那都用到没用，那都用完那写过的，那都没用完那写嘛，写过要嘛的话。
Just so that it's clear, this is not about not giving a teaching because you know that the student isn't ready for it or it's inappropriate for their level. It's not about that. It is about either being jealous or having a basis of dishonesty, of saying, oh, I really don't know about this, I'm not qualified, when one actually is.
세고로 수배 상신라 따와 빵데 세도 대시 셰바 슈베 셰바다 지바데 당한 중에 최시비 갑라 소솔야 년고라에 세다 고에다 되네게 상식이 년고라야게 체도 되네게 삼노 땅교 말해제 빵데스.
And the sixth attitude to abandon we also looked at earlier in discussing the motivation on the previous page. The concern for material things such as food and clothing should be abandoned.
안데네 삼마다제 안데 삼나 가르당 거라스네 라셴기 상기 투비 치도 아니 덴비게 쇠남 등이 다기 대화 투비 예지도 쓰데 지자다 데네시에데 라한다셴 차상 심자 상기 고방 투비 치도 인세베 삼다 셰다 데네게 다 소소기 데네시아바이나 소소 심장 탐지 라신 차상 산조 고방 투비 치도 인시 삼네 바 덴시비기 덴비 쇠남디야 쇠남디 안다기 대화 투비기 예제레서 소소라랑 탈바다 탐지 김비 고방 투비기 땡기 대화 투비기다 예제를 마서 잘라 마서나 튕겐 마서나 디레서 데네게 삼다시 셰고레 제레.
So those are 6 attitudes to abandon. And what attitude should one have? The text continues. The very merits from teaching for the sake of my own and others' enlightenment are the assurance of my happiness. So from such an attitude, you can see there's no space to think about any material benefit, for example, that one will receive. Rather, one has a recognition of the benefits of teaching, the benefits that will come to the student from hearing teachings, and therefore, with this motivation to help myself and others attain enlightenment, to guide others to gain liberation from suffering. With such a motivation, one gives teachings.
나도나라 최시비 갑라 최시겐디게 삼로 가는 땅고라스는 디지 쇼게 셰바델레 담보 최기 판연 안 최시비 판연도 수스네 여래 삼다 안 판연 삼다 안 최시비 가서 군로 안 지게 안저 지게 년구르 안 지게 게라 단 천년다 영야 된다 신나 지교 말에서 비게 삼다 직세 안다데 안저 삼롱고 삼다이데 다지 셈젠 담 셈젠의 코르위 뇽모바세야디 마저고 둥아제야디 다디 둥아뇨야데 개왕아메기 뇽모부 원게레 다데가즈기레 뇽모보여데 뇽모바디 마세바 이네다 디게네 마오바나 강아테야데 지자다 셈 가즈 뇽모부 원게 강아테 뇽모보데 세고도 셈베게다 셈젤리아 닌지에 삼다 데 판베 삼다 디네 판베 삼다네 다디간에 세월을람나 녜델리아 아니 냠랭이 짐바디에 마노와 마투바지 파텐제 디파 땡기 셈베 텐제 디템바는 냠랭 제주샤나 군둥알레 디기투 투와지긴 디기도 투투와지긴 시 삼로 데네스타지 최시하고레스 아니 데네게 삼다 아니 미션다 최시겐지레네 델리아 아니 지게 약고시 신송구의 시고에는 델리아 아니 지게 가스 제수 일하시야마도 차도 제다 디네 삼다요 말레스 안 소수게 강 셰바디야 신리아 안지게 펜바다 값수법의 시액이 뇌도 중화이나 라삼 남다게 돈에 파이 컨트롤에 시고레스 안나 데니기 고업레디가 데 제마 시고스베 레로지교 말레스 안 데니가 강아 소수게다 야네 야도시 강아 태어도 델리아 안삼나 가르당고레세나 안 취기 편유 취시베 편유다 안 취기 뉴엔데 편유 삼다 라지랑라 편베 편유 현래 편베 편유 삼다 두신의 삼단 델리아 지게 지가 두신의 편유 삼다를 안 델리아 두신의 삼당고레세지 나 데니기 안도 다 삼당하데 두스 당고레세 더드나 다 데니시와다 데니송고도
So then, in brief, the kind of motivation to generate, as we looked at this morning and now, is that to reflect, to recall, call to mind the benefits of teaching and the benefits of hearing teachings. So one calls to mind what oneself will gain, as well as the objects of your compassion, your students, what they will gain. So this immediately gives one strength and lifts the mind. And also, one ensures that one's mind is free from any desires for material gain, respect and fame. So make sure that one's motivation is pure and free of such worldly, mundane concerns. Moreover, cultivate a strong and stable motivation of love and compassion for your students, recognizing that beings are suffering due to their afflictions. And it's these afflictions that have been causing harm for lifetimes. And now they have the opportunity to have guidance, to receive guidance in how to recognize this and to gain freedom from this. And recognize that the situation that beings are finding themselves in right now is that they are under the delusion that they are in control of their own minds, control of their own lives, when actually they are helpless, they are powerless, their afflictions rule them. So recognizing how beings are lost in the darkness of ignorance, compassion will arise, and from the compassion, a determination to guide beings as well as one can to gain actual freedom. And that will also spur oneself to strive for enlightenment, to guide beings ever more skillfully. Thereafter, one guards one's mind against further of the harmful attitudes, such as jealousy towards other teachers or skilled students. Guard one's mind against wishes for worldly gain. Guards one's mind against any feelings of fatigue or discouragement by recalling the benefits of teaching. And through reflecting on impermanence, one guards one's mind against procrastination.
Disugi dinige samdantadi, that Dorduna, Simjan, Ninganjuga, Simjan Tamji, Devada, Dena, Simba, Samnoda, Simja Dunganda, Debe, Samno, Simjimlia, Jamba, the Niji Gom, Jamba, Jam Niji, the Yawachi, Gomje, and the Dini, Simjan Dungasia, and Digi doing it, Shigin, Simja Tamju, Sanjuko, Togo, Toba, Dondalang, Shigin, Samlo D, and the Jam Niji, and Janju Simju, Gunia, Lam, Guno, Yawachi, Cheshag, some Shevaina. That is Shazan Yon Mare, that was Shanla Chado Chibigi, Tora Sibi Chado Yung Mare, and Shishuji Lelo Yung Mare, and Yaya Chibiki Ganga Joadia Yung Mare, and the Shen Sosugi Yuan Draw, and the Shen Yunlia de Yung Mare, and Biki Chile Sosugi, Shinwa de Pama, Consulia Yaposhazar, since the Chado Chicha, Pabeba de Yung Mare, Chesat Dam Yanda Ingo Sego Chap. 차산 균 차산디 가루고 그래다 가지래 군노 셴야 펜바든 제와든 잠바 곰 되네 안지게 셈제 탐지요 산조고마 토벌 지구 셈비게 자주 셈지 군내라 디야고 shum어이나 디수 균 차산 배식 용함 해버다.
The skillful way to guard one's mind from jealousy, to guard one's mind from the laziness of procrastination, to guard one's mind from fatigue or discouragement, to guard one's mind from praising oneself and speaking of others' faults, and to guard one's mind from miserliness, and guard one's mind from seeking material benefits. The skillful way to guard oneself from all of these is to reflect how all sentient beings want happiness. Everyone wants to abide in a lasting state of happiness, joy and pleasure, never punctuated by even the slightest discomfort. Recognizing, though, that this is not the experience of beings, rather beings are abound in suffering states due to their own afflictions. In this way, utilizing this recognition to generate compassion, may beings be freed of suffering, and love, may they abide in lasting happiness, and then the altruistic attitude where one determines to bring this state about for beings, and thereby thereafter generate bodhicitta. So by training one's mind in this way, cultivating the motivation that one was advised at the beginning here, by cultivating such a motivation, one is almost certain to guard one's mind from those 6 harmful attitudes. This has 2 outlines, cultivating appropriate attitude, and now we come to behavior. Having washed and dressed in immaculate clothes, you sit in a clean and pleasant venue on a cushion placed on a Dharma throne. If you chant a mantra for subjugating demons and harmful spirits and demonic kinds of gods will not come closer to you than a perimeter of 100 yojanas, and even if they do come, they will not be able to create any obstacles, as the questions of Sakramati Sutra says. Therefore, you should chant that mantra and, with a radiant expression on your face, give your explanations with examples, logical proofs and quotations, which help ensure your message is understood.
Then, and the Zangma and Dulo the Zangma Gongores, the Nigga Guanji Shusha Gores. Just another tree and tree Jap Zangma, Dulo the Zangla and Jigge Dulo Zangma Quadi, Jida Shandalia, Ningshu Dunda Disigo Made, Dundala, Chue the Be Masiki Dangan to get Chimpo da Shuinza, Delia, Chue Shalia, Bej Gujeb, Dang to get. 这个藏马当，这个杜罗的藏马去苏布的藏马就是怕结果的，可是呢，今天买这边缺了古些没把查了，这种缺了买这古些点在古些点别个这段安呢，都是在藏的结果的也是我。
So the reason for washing and dressing in immaculate clothes before teaching is not so that one can look quite impressive before the students, or to avoid being criticized for being dirty, but rather it's out of respect for the Dharma, because what one is about to share is something of great rarity, great value, supremely precious. So out of respect to the Dharma, one washes and dresses in immaculate clothes.
那确实是个设计的嘞，彰显一度为个社区所去给提单电脑块呢是，其他的确实是的呀，社区做包单真把上的那面把钱，那设计上嘛，一度啊，那这个嘞啊，社区地方嘞，那确实是个吃肉去，地方嘞把地方嘞把对现在些活嘞是，第二个是呢，那个设计去样就地方这把的些把那确嘞啊，规些当。通当等等规矩些别个，这张设计章嘛，等等这个去提纲了第二个把它开来了呢，去的早前不认章，但是就的确些别那个不嘞呢，去的早前不认章，但等那个早前不之前那个都是呢，呀这个早前不全别去到那个提纲了呀，修前都是呢，些活的设计。
And so too, with regard to the need to sit in a clean and pleasant venue on a cushion placed on the Dharma throne, this too is about showing respect to the Dharma. And again, not just showing respect out of habit, but because of a sincere valuing of the Dharma, recognizing it's the potential that it brings to beings. So out of sincere respect to the Dharma, one dresses appropriately and teaches in an appropriate place.
其实今年呀，我这个去马些年了，去看了马对年了呀，恰送这个的了呀，你提恰是我提了呀，确就是，可是呢，的确现在个确可能白嘛在早前么，给点什么， 공부 인자 아니 디 최디기 라신 심자 탐지기 누가 타바다 탐지해봐 토바집에 탑람 람냠링이 림바디 짜침부지 인자 제자다 최 디가를 쉬우제 되사기 티디야베 짜침부리 데니기 최게 통데 짜침부샤네 야 차부야다 안데 되어도 갈랑이 디네시고르데 쇼게데 치데 델야 디가 델레어도네가나 데네 두스체데 지도 되스마도요 말와 제산 기지기 집이 미다와레스 제자도 고 대보도 말레스 미다와 삼다야다 데네 직자돼야 긴신 기지 태발에 되는 중요바자 데니게 다 된진 자와 중앙마도 강라마도 랑문의 줍되바시서 요 말에서 베게다 데니게 슈트칼로 슈비 갑레네 미다바데야나 동반이 삼다야 돼데 디고고레제 데니 인자다 치샤푸야다 아니 데니게 세와다야 라소바데 제데 임젠으로 디레
Before teachings, the teacher of the Dharma will first prostrate to the Dharma, prostrate to the teaching that is about to be given. In that, and this is done with the recognition that the Dharma contains the methods that will lead each and every kind mother being to liberation from suffering in its entirety. So with the recognition of the great value of the Dharma, one prostrates oneself to the Dharma. Thereafter, as one climbs onto the teaching throne, one snaps one's fingers. And there's two reasons for this. The actual finger snap itself is a movement that shows momentary change. So that leads one to reflect on impermanence. And also there's a sound that makes. And that sound comes about independent on the movement of the fingers. So this then leads one to reflect on dependent arising and emptiness. So therefore, as one is getting on the throne and sitting down, one's mind is staying with the Dharma. First one generated faith and respect, and now one reflects on emptiness and impermanence.
다 뒤처지병 된나서 다 뒤처지병 된바이나 디코유 안에 바세 개춘시에도 뒤다 뒤기리길 하나 명화라서 제자다가 주게다 데니게 최마시 녀리아 뒤처지병 아스는 아주 시라니 보던 거로 제자 데니게 뒤처지병 아스되다 시라니 보던도 다 동반이 조다 동이 삼다의 차고를 제자 동반이 삼다의 데니게 안에 지게 돼야돼 된거그래서 데네 된바이나 안지게 바셰지기다 데네기 코리올이야 안지지 여바이나 데서는 하다 미로데네게 최 바셰 조등아서 낭sem기 녀모 버셰데 어디서 용 말해야지 그래서 용 말해야지.
The text continues, if you chant a mantra for subjugating demons, then harmful spirits and demonic kinds of gods will not come closer to you than a perimeter of 100 yojanas. What this is, so in our case, we recite the Heart Sutra. And the purpose of reciting the Heart Sutra here is to reflect on emptiness, to eliminate obstacles. So obstacles can come from external forces, such as is mentioned here. But primarily one is reflecting on emptiness so as to overcome inner obstacles. So in this way, one gains protection. It's through one's reflection on emptiness.
나 원장 바지 제비 미니베 루데게 수시발에 송베 나디 되노 센데니게다 직직 하다 밀어서 바데니게 바시제게 삼노다네게 주요베네 안데니게 된바이나 안데서 수용고 말해야지 디 가서네 루데게 되는 바도 송요래지래.
And the proof of this is from a sutra quotation. And even if they do come, they will not be able to create any obstacles.
안데네 아직마 쉬시베가라 신당 랍도 세베게 된게베야라 배당 댄세다 룬다데베 샤바라제 셰도 세데다 쉬시베가블야 안지게 마셰베게다 지게 신랍도 당와 세데다 지게 지 랍도 당와시다 베네 가신 구병원에 소야다네 신 지난의 신 당와시도 아직 게마수 샤바다 데니게 두치네 안지게 신당에 되네 안 시오고래 세부 시오고래 제 대안에 세부치 대안 하고와지 하고 하모거나 안 비를 봐지네 되는데 하고 해야 되네 야라 비시 비 안에 댄시스 금체 디디레 디미 금체 디레 제사디 냠 제고쇼 금체 디레서 네 금체장 비다 금체다 되네 롱 되네 상이 송디나네 되네 송요레세 베기 되네 안노데 덴베기 캡델이야 온두시네 송고고래 해지래.
Paragraph concludes, therefore you should chant that mantra and with a radiant expression on your face, give your explanations with examples, logical proofs and quotations which help ensure your message is understood. So here one then teaches in a manner that's clear, giving reasons or logical proofs as well as examples and quotations.
나돈다리 닝보데라 저기 저기 퇴비게 팬 퇴진이 저기 최년비갑로 공로 삼다나래 아니 최기 시비갑로 최시행원에 다디 제름지 아주 최년가를 삼데네데 땅고래 제대 상지에 송샤교디 다 제름지 마 세고 수여지네 최년비갑로 공로 삼다데 데데는시네 소수기 귤이 냠내내 자르신도 신행고래 제 최 송한지네 소수기 공로 데네케 삼로 잠바단 제외 삼배 소수기 냠내내 자르신 바 송고래 제가 데네 송바나 아시니가라 판도 용고래 제가 도시네 송고에 데디레 세데 달랍시 조어딩 저게 단내 니고 디레다 되지 년간주의네 심정 아주 뇨모버 아주 강한 뇨모버 세고도 니 체동에 즉 뇨모버 세게 탑람데 장기 대장의 최슈기 인생백에 최슈네 안딩에 뇨모버 세게 탑람 남된샤바디 곰제 뇨모버 세제 달바다 터지기고 고바 톱도바 지인세베 삼로 디네텐제 년고래제 최승화지네 아니 현기 뇨모바다 두화되게 파세베게 닌제에서 ዣ래 잠바다 닌제고 콘주 두화데 파세고 대장의 콘줄야 냠닝이 바 탑람이 림바 파 띵기 sembe 땡네 띵이 sembe 군로 디네케체나 안 땡고래 사제 돈다닝보 뒤셔나 디네체 송고로다 제사 대야 년개원에 군로 디네 삼다다 최시행원에 군로 디네 삼다다 두시는 시월마도 제 최시행원에 제게 나자 차도 제게 아니 제게 연구로다 년자 용야가 돈다 디시는 시요 말에 사실 아니 디네게 시네 디네게 상기기 다 디네게 간주 냠네 제바다 당한주 년개 용원에 나라 시행이 내르나 지사 상기 인간줄이야 동아시게 탑람 디네게 텐세 빼 마세게 상기 코롱게 냠는제 윤데 켐바 킹기가서 풍송 소바 켄되바디 배야고 땡한줄이야 제용가 샤 빼마세 깨진 쳔보래 만주도스 냠는제 고브라 빼마세 깨진 쳔보 인세베게 상기에게 깨진자다 안 깨진 지수자야 대바지야 안 되네게 냠는 림바도 소소게 냠는 호바다 냠는 지기 제제 안 망고반에 샬래야 바 띠엔지 냠는 마노와 마초와 띠엔지 냠는 제주시 되네 냠는 림바도 유니부네 바심자 탐지 상마기 바도 네투에 판도야도 투바디 지긴 세베게 되네게 삼당고 그래서 더도나다 더나 닝보로 되네 차기도와.
The essence of what we've looked at this weekend is we've concluded to look at the advice from Lama Tsongkhapa on how to receive teachings, as well as looked at much of the presentation on how to give teachings. And there's a remarkable crossover with these two presentations, in that with this interdependent relationship between the teacher and the student, there is a lot that they are doing which is, that both parties that are doing which is the same, but from a different perspective. So the student needs to reflect on the benefits of receiving the teachings, and the teacher will reflect on the benefits of giving the teaching, but also be aware of the benefits that those that they care for, their students, are going to attain. Moreover, we looked at the motivation, and the motivation that is cultivated is in essence the same. The student will reflect that I'm here to receive these teachings because I recognize that these afflictions are what cause all my suffering and have been since beginningless lifetimes. So now I will listen attentively to this teaching so that I can be skilled in applying it repeatedly over a sustained period. So one listens with such a motivation, I want to gain freedom from suffering. This teaching is part of my armory of skills that I'm developing so as to gain freedom from suffering. And the teacher recalls the same thought, but in relation to their students, so as to generate compassion for them, that these are beings who are dominated by their afflictions. They have some desire to gain freedom from their suffering. I will help to the best of my ability for them to learn about the methods to abandon the afflictions and cultivate minds of virtue. And then moreover, specifically to the teacher, through cultivating this motivation, the attitudes that he or she needs to guard themselves from, such as pride and jealousy and so forth, those will be abandoned in dependence on the strength of a sincere motivation being cultivated. Thereafter, both parties, the teacher and the student, also recalls the tremendous kindness of the Buddha, recognizing that all the benefits that we've received from the Dharma, both directly and indirectly, has come about due to all the efforts that the being that went on to become the Buddha went through, as well as the teachings of the Buddha himself. And in this way, through reflecting in the way I described earlier, we develop a sincere appreciation for the Buddha, as a feeling of closeness and connection to the Buddha, so that it's not just some historical figure, but someone who is present in our life through his teachings being cultivated within us. In this way, we feel his presence in his life and a deep and sincere connection. This then serves to encourage our determination to continue to practice in the way that we are being guided, so as to either benefit our students or to develop ourselves so that later we can be of more benefit to others. So in this way, we see the close and interconnected relationship between teacher and student, in that they're doing many things in a similar way, just from a different perspective and with a different level of skill.
Lama the Lumikis, Mini, Samlamatuna, Kampaji Gavina, Samlamatuna, Nikampaja Tumarwa, Mini Kampaji Gavina, Dini Samlamatuna, Jigi Gavin, Samlamatuna, Gaptua Yomarwa, Dinashi, Samlutuna, Konigada, Tumazna, Dick Java to and Dinashi, Lama the Lomigi, Chuyanduji. Deba Shuchewata, Lamala Debata, Nomigi, Denigi, Nyandugi, Dumba Shuchimo Yobache, and Gulong Deniki, Yomoba, Panya, Dandala, Dumba Shuchimo Yoba, Chela Deva, Lamala Deva, Nyandu Shuchimo Yobache, Lamim when and Deli Chesha Delia, Jambatan Zewa, Delia and Che, Matuba, Manova, and Jigdusin, Deg, Deva Yobache, Dustevena, that Jig, Nigale, Pendochi, Yapushon Tuerwa, Yungurwa, Dene. In that Geshe and the Chagor, what it is that the Nine Bodanga, Diring Hanjudu, Chige, Dinala Carson was in Denige, some died, so Yomo by the Bankudu, Sembe, that ye, the Meva Mazon Tamin to tell it, Yomo by Dilla Targudu, Sembe, Tar some Daje, D. Dondalia, and Sosuki, Chutugi says some died, that Sosugina, that Jambatan. Kovedunga de Tarba Togudu, Sembi, Sanjo Goma Togudu, Sembe Samda, Digunela Janga, Giveja, Gang to the Jua Garchevene, Sanjo Goma Tovechia, Sembi, some Daching to Geshe Thubten, Dichagorwada, Tisande Guno, Dinish Kajang to Yamne Cheware. And the Negeda, Sanji, Yunteja, Sanjelia, Deba, San Yuchele, Deba, the Negi, getting Tempetonet, Anzuke, Chikchevopia, La Sopata, and the Chatea La Sopata, Geshe Thubten Rabten, Gang to them, many Chikaret, Chiknaru, Savine, and the Negi, Sanji, Gusung to the Indian Jehada, Della getting Jesu Tempetone, dus Jevena, Tangazulia Pandochimuade, the Sunam Balmevasadi, Imbaridwada, didn't get Amazo, Casana, didn't get Lobsang Dorje, some died, rather than Wishing Yamlin, the one machine, Shirua, Ligua. Nyamling when ma, Nyamling when you go to your Rimbadi Manma, Shinele Yuruada, that did one drink it to say the Shigoro.
Just in our summary, a few key points to take away. So the first, which isn't explicitly clear in the text, but I really hope you take this away because there's some importance to it. That just like if two people are to embark on a particular project together, perhaps building a house or whatever, if they are not in harmony, in agreement, the project will not go well. But if they are in harmony, the project will be successful. And that is the relationship between teacher and student. That there is this deep interdependence. And I hope through this teaching, it has become very clear that if both sides have developed the appropriate motivation that has been described, there will be harmony between the two. There will be a strong connection between the two. And then transformation will follow. So this is developed through the cultivation of the motivation by both the teacher and the student, because the motivation is very similar. And then also the connection is enhanced through their joint faith in the Dharma, their joint faith in the Buddha, as well as then from the student side, their faith in the Lama. So when these are all cultivated, and the students are sitting with a sincere wish to gain freedom from the sufferings of samsara, to abandon the afflictions in their entirety, and therefore want to receive this teaching, and the teacher from his or her side has the same wish for their students, immediately there's a harmonious relationship. And then, moreover, they both have faith in the Buddha and in the Buddha's Dharma. That too strengthens their interdependence, their connection. When that is present, transformation will come. Moreover, what I want you to take away from this weekend is where I presented the motivation to cultivate. This is your meditation homework. Reflect on the transitory nature of this life's pleasures and pains, and overcome one's distraction to this life's meaningless affairs. Rather turn one's attention to come to really recognize the roles the afflictions play in causing us pain, and recognize our true enemy is not to be found without, but it is our afflictions. It's these that we need to abandon, and then strive in your meditation to abandon these afflictions. Moreover, at the outset of your virtuous activities, whatever they may be, whether it's the meditation I've just briefly mentioned, or whether it's before doing prostrations or making offerings or reciting mantra, reflect on the qualities and kindness of the Buddha so as to strengthen your connection, your relationship to the Buddha, bringing him very present into your life. And in this way then, your virtuous activities will yield ever greater results. So that then is, in brief, what we've looked at together this weekend. We're still in the preliminaries to the teaching, to the Lamrim, but probably next time we'll come to start at the actual teachings. Some questions then?
Just something that came up in the discussion group. But I think also it's something quite common in just coming from a culture that hasn't had Dharma. Is it a wrong way of listening to the teachings or something that's preventing refuge if you can't, if you have doubt towards the fact or doubt about reincarnation? And if so, what can you do with that?
So just in brief, how can one overcome doubt about reincarnation because of the obstacles that creates for oneself? Yeah, I'll just say it in brief for the camera. Kiwanachi, Tetsumiona, Dokayona, De Kandus Chekides, Pezende, Bachi Circuits, Dini Nazo Kanto, Bachi Circuits, Dini Nazo Kiwanachi, Dokayona, Dokade Kandus Chekides.
지난 도보 문의 제디 한주 개왕아시 예비규 김선 삼다 개왕아마 예비 김선 삼다도 제바 제제 여바 체명해 봐니도 도바 제디 차고와 나 되니게 체명해 봐 되니게 제바시 체명해 봐니 마토바이나 안 도바 간에 세고래도 다 상지이다 상지라면 상지 손에 이제래다 근데 예 타제리 세가스는 상지기 상지에다 안 되는 마지 케비게 공부를 소바다 야가 케비 반도다 묘지 케비 라마 다들 봐도 최 지기 순간 차상기 되니게 다 개왕같이 여봐 순고 됐다 건축에다 주인시와다 양선시와서 여마라다 건축이 kengu와래 뭐네 여타세레서 베게 이지제야 돼 당보 저게 제바제 세명해 봐야지 된도가 써야 돼 뭐네데 도가 써야 되시고라 다 되니게 해봐 세명 제바 좀 하던다 되니게 상지 순바들 이지제야 돼 이체네 다 타지 이치 제셔봐야나 난 디고로 와
So in general, the way to overcome doubts is to cultivate, to reflect deeply on the reasons. First, to come to understand the reasons that are presented, and then to reflect well on them, because then at least one will come to gain intellectual certainty that this will happen. One still may not feel it inside, but at least intellectually one will know that for these reasons it makes sense. Moreover, as one gains more knowledge and experience of the Buddha Dharma, seeing its benefits in other areas, seeing its validity in other areas other than where you have your doubt, you will come to have a growing respect for the validity of the Buddha's teachings and the incredible lineage of beings such as from ancient India, such as Nagarjuna and those into Tibet to the modern day. And having faith in them, that you can in them and their teachings, you then can apply that to these areas that you're struggling with. So in other words, you come over time to see that the Buddha Dharma is correct in this area and that area and that area and that area. So whilst I can't see I'm struggling in this area, in all these ways it is correct. So therefore it is probably true here as well. And that at least serves to ease the doubt that you can just accept it for now, put it aside, rather than have it as an obstacle. So there are these two ways. Again, the first was when one hears the various intellectual presentations, why something is the case, you hear them and reflect on them, reflecting on them to come to see that yes, it is like that. You try to find faults in the argument, and in the end you exhaust the possibility of faults, so therefore it must be like that. So then at least intellectually it's accepted. And whilst not yet emotionally, later, when you've got more experience in the Buddha Dharma, you see that actually the Buddha Dharma is right in all these ways. So therefore I can have some confidence that it is probably right in this way too. Okay. Then thank you. Thank you very much.